We have with us today here Marty Quinn. Marty is running to be our next state insurance commissioner. And as you all know, none of us pay enough for insurance on our homes and things today. So Marty's going to figure out how to fix that. But before we get into the subject matter, Marty, tell us just briefly a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, appreciate the opportunity to be here, Charlie. We born and raised in Arkansas on a cattle and poultry farm, and Mom and Dad didn't think that was enough work, so they bought a restaurant, and so I learned how to sweep and mop floors and wash dishes and take out the trash and everything else in that business. But it created good work ethic. We love our background and where we came from and all those type of things. So fortunate enough to get into the insurance business way back in 1982. I was 10 years old at the time. Just kidding, Charlie.
Okay. And it was called MFA at the time, wasn't it?
They had just changed the name from MFA to Shelter Insurance in 1981, and I came.
That was the Missouri Farmers Association. Yep.
So just fortunate enough to be in the industry, and I say that from the standpoint it allowed me to be very involved in the communities everywhere we went. We worked in 3 different states: Arkansas, Kentucky, and Oklahoma.
Oh, wow.
And so it blessed our family, and had a lot of freedom to spend with family, be involved in church, be involved in civic activities. So it's been good to our family. And
now you were in the state house for a short period of time, and then the state senate.
Yeah. We came into the House in 2010 after Tad Jones, if you remember that name.
I do.
Tad went out, and we, I think because of the involvement that we had in Claremore, we came to Oklahoma in 1995. So we were very, very involved with the community and the school and all those things. And because of that, we well known enough that they reached out to us, and so we served in the House for 4 years. And then in 2014, Sean Burridge left, and I think he went to Southeast. I think it was the first deal that he did, Southeast University. So we went into the Senate unopposed, believe that or not.
Okay.
And served our final 8 years. And
now, weren't you chairman of an important board in the Senate, our agency in the Senate that has to do with regulating the insurance?
Yeah, we served in a number of leadership roles: assistant majority leader at one time, assistant minority leader, assistant majority whip.
Okay.
And so a couple of those. And then we were on lots of committees concerning insurance, but we finished up in the Senate side being chairman of the insurance committee. But we worked on a lot of legislation throughout that. And I think, Charlie, to be honest with you, it's one of the things that gets left out in this race is how important that is. And when you hear people talking across the state, and we've been to every corner multiple times, you're hearing them say, we've got to have something done about insurance. Well, if you're going to change very many things, it's going to have to go through that legislative process. And there's only one person in the race that has legislative experience, and that's me, and I've got 12 years of it. So, and to add to that, the fact that, people can make promises. I can show you by my record that I'm a conservative individual, and that's in the House, that's in the Senate. So whether it's First Amendment, Second Amendment, moral issues, abortion, gun, any other issues, bills that wanted to take billions of dollars and send to the wind industry, for example, we fought those type things. So we've got a good record in the House and Senate as far as, and that's a proven record, not a promise. And you know how promises are today.
So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you have 2 opponents in this race, or is there 3? 3. And one of them who's been out on TV commercials already and everything, I guess he must be really wealthy. Or maybe are there some special interest groups that are putting money in his campaign to allow him to run these high-dollar ads on TV?
There's There's some money behind that.
Where do you think that money comes from?
It's in the papers. You can go look it up.
Okay.
I think Oklahoma Medical Association spent about $83,000 in the last quarter.
Okay.
On that, and here's the thing, Charlie. I mean, all of us have our own things that we think are important, and so I'm one of those guys. I want to be reasonable about things, but you know as well as I know that people don't shell out $83,000 without having special reasons.
Yeah.
Now those reasons may be very, very valid, but we have a history in the legislature that you have to go back and check that person's record to see, is it being overly influenced by that. And there's not many people that have served in the legislature that can say that I stood up to a particular group because of the additional funds that are put in there. So you can't send somebody to the commissioner's office and be controlled by outside forces.
Well, actually, that begs the question, though. Why is it let's use a broad term and say the medical industry would have an interest in this particular race?
Why would they have?
Sure.
I think the biggest issue is third-party claims. You've got a situation where that doctors are wanting to be able to sue. You got patients, you got a hospital, and that doctor is wanting to be that third party can sue. Congressman Hearn currently has a piece of legislation to change the way those things, because right now you have foreign interests that are doing it for financial reasons, and they're going out and suing and gaining the money, and that money is not even taxed. And Congressman Hearn
So who are they suing? You say, is it doctors that want to sue or are suing? Could you explain that?
Doctors are wanting to sue because of a situation that happened either at the hospital or with a patient. I mean, that's just an example.
Oh, as an example, who might they want to sue? The hospital or
The
the
insurance
patient?
company.
The insurance company.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe because they
That's where the
don't
money's
believe they've
at.
been paid enough?
Huh?
Or they don't believe their fees
Yeah,
have been compensated well enough?
I don't know the full reasons why. I would say that there's multiple reasons, but the end result is they feel like that legally there's a pot of money there that they can tap into, and those foreign sources are doing it for an investment purpose.
Ah, okay.
How could they possibly find an attorney that would want to do something like that?
Boy, I thought my questions appear to be set up and naive, Charlie.
I love how Charlie asks all these questions that he already knows the answers to. So for our viewers out there, tell us what your job actually is as an insurance commissioner.
Yeah, it's broad. What I tell people is one of the main jobs is that the companies that do business in the state, they have to be financially sound. They have to be financially solvent. That is first and foremost, because lots of companies want to do business, but if they can't be financially sound and deliver the promise that they're supposed to, or they don't have the financial means to deliver the promise, then the commissioner can stop them from doing business in the state. Now, what do you hear a lot about in this day and time is that we got companies that are financially stable, but you've got some of them that have issues on delivering that promise. And again, this is me. What I think is that there has to be a balancing act between companies and consumers in that legal system.
Right.
Because you can have bad attorneys, you can have bad companies, and you can have bad consumers. So not everybody that calls into the Oklahoma Department of Insurance is telling the truth as a consumer. But we also know that there's companies out there that put way too much emphasis on, well, I know that we probably can pay for that, or we probably should pay for that, but we're going to drag it out.
So if a consumer has an issue with an insurance company, they can contact your office?
they had about 15,000 calls last year into the Department of Insurance. That's not near enough. I can tell you, by campaigning as hard as we've campaigned to every little town that we go through that we can stop at, there is hundreds and hundreds of people that have given us examples of situations that have happened,
Oh yeah.
and they did not know.
I didn't.
To call the
I
insurance
could give you
department.
one right now. Yeah, I didn't know.
And so my point with that is that if we're fortunate enough to get there, and we believe that we will, we've got a strong network, we've got good folks helping us. If we were commissioner for today, we're going to enhance that part of the department. We're going to make sure that technology is where it needs to be. We're going to make sure that staffing is where it needs to be. There's going to be a friendly voice answering that phone. There's going to be people, once we decide where it needs to go, people that are willing and ready to help, because the little old lady that you know at church that hits the dead end, I don't want it to be the Department of Insurance where she stops. I want them to know that there is help available.
Now, for your department, does that cover all insurance? Health insurance.
Health insurance, life insurance. It covers, here's an example of that. We have the purview for funeral homes,
Yeah.
land and title companies, bail bondsmen, a lot of those type things. Even
Home insurance, auto insurance.
yeah, I love it. So broader than what most people think, but
What was the commissioner's name before Mulready?
John Doak.
Yeah, John Doak was there 8 years, and he hired Randy Brogdon at one point in time to root out fraud. And I wish I could remember. My mind doesn't work like it used to, but it was a really important thing to find that fraud and root it out, because that hurts all of our rates, doesn't it?
It still is today, Charlie. That's one of the areas. Consumer protection and the fraud area is two areas that we really have to push hard, and getting that message back out to the individual. And the reason I say this, I'm proud of the industry. I just know that there's a balancing act to make sure that we hold those companies accountable. But now you can get really, really aggressive, and they say, you know what, Marty, I think we're going to check out here of Oklahoma, and environment's not good enough. We can't. It's too risky. We're going to stop writing business in Oklahoma. Well, the rate increases that I'm trying to get to be lower, when companies start leaving, they go up.
They go up, yeah. So that's competition.
And I had a CEO tell me this not that long ago. He said, "Be tough, just be fair."
Yeah.
And that's what I plan on doing. I'm gonna if you mistreat real life situations that you did not deliver your promise to the consumer, then we're going to hold you accountable. And at the same time, we're going to tell you how important it is that you stay in the state. We're going to reach out to, there's about 100 companies in the state that are licensed to do business in Oklahoma. Less than 50 of them do.
Oh,
so
wow.
we're going to go to those folks and say, why is it that you're not doing business in the state? What can we do? The other thing is, there's lots of companies outside of Oklahoma that could do business in this state. So been in the marketing and sales business forever. Those are skill sets that we can get before people and say, hey, it's a great place. We got good people. They work hard. They just want somebody that can come in and deliver the promise that they were made.
And I would say sometimes, like what happened in my dad's case, all that insurance company would need is a letter from you guys. And they don't really want to,
I mean, I haven't been in that situation. I would say that a letter, they're going to pay attention to that. But, that's what I found on the campaign trail. I'd rather look in the eye and say, listen, love you, appreciate you, glad to have you, all those things. But here's our situation. I need you to correct that.
Yeah.
And do it in person, if at all possible. Now, there may be CEOs of companies out there that are on the East Coast or West Coast that they ain't got time for us in Oklahoma. And if that's the case, we understand that. We'll just go on. But we're gonna do what we can to make sure that people, companies, entities know Oklahoma. And I will say that when you look at some of the captive companies that are out there, Glenn has done a real good job of bringing those companies to the state, and we want to continue that. So it's just something that you have to do, and the environment that we're in with high prices, we got to look at every avenue. Just like if you want to 70-something% of the claims in a given year are going to come from wind and hail. So if I'm going to save any money, where am I going to go? Mm-hmm. I can't just go to collision claims. Mm-hmm. I can't just go to water claims. Mm-hmm. I've got to go to wind and hail. Mm-hmm. So what is it in that sector that we can do to improve the cost, improve the exposure? Mm-hmm. And the department has the fortified roofing program that's just been, I think this is the second year for it. So it's really just getting started. We'll have more data as time goes on, and that's my take on it. I just want it to prove itself.
Mm-hmm. So what is that program? Is that to use better materials that?
Yeah, better materials and installed with more strength. Mm-hmm. So pilot program was done in Alabama. Alabama's a little bit different. They do have tornadoes, but one of their biggest concerns is probably going to be more hurricanes. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so that was a place that they instituted it, and Commissioner Mulready then modeled what we're doing now after that. But I do think that time will tell whether. But at the end of the day, when you go to Florida, they don't have shingle roofs. Mm-hmm. They have different kinds of roofs.
Yeah.
They also have different.
All their hurricanes, they actually still have roofs?
Not many. A lot of open air facilities. Just kidding on that.
They can build homes in Florida now. In fact, all new ones, I believe, have to be built to withstand hurricanes.
Well, they do have the tiles, a lot of tiles, which, I was born and raised in Okinawa. It has typhoons, and they have tiles.
They have a lot of block that they use. But in Florida, people talk about how high that Oklahoma's homeowners rates are. In Florida, you have to buy wind coverage separately.
Okay.
So kind of makes sense. Mm-hmm. So let me ask a different question, go in a little different direction, and that's the idea of advances in technology allow for the gathering of a lot more information at a lot lower cost. Okay, and this is true everywhere. This is what's going on. And I know people will comment on the use of drones for evaluating their property, damage, things like that, condition even when they first sign a policy. And the amount of information that can be acquired is incredible. Okay, I think people should understand that for insurance reasons, there's a place for all of that, but they worry about the abuse later on. Where else can it go, and how can it be used against us? Can you speak to that whole area?
I just think, to sum it up before we get started, if somebody's collecting data, it needs to be strictly controlled. If I'm flying a drone to look at a shingle or a roof and the shingles that are damaged, and I notice something else, then what are the rules and regulations associated with that? I think and I'm not in favor of that. I know companies are using it because it's saving money, but I don't like that at all, because I'll give you an example. You can fly over a house, and if it's shaded a little bit too much, you may not even see the damage. Mm-hmm. So you may go back and delay the claim for 20 or 30 or 45 days because your drone didn't give you the. Mm-hmm. Now, there's always exceptions to the rule, but we've got to be careful of that. I mean, there is too many issues with people getting data that they should have never, especially if it's being sold. Mm-hmm.
So what can the insurance commissioner do to limit that? Because it does come down to a right to privacy issue.
I think that you have to, if you're really wanting to have a solution, you can't, how many times have y'all seen legislation that somebody said, hey, this is a great idea, we'll run this piece of legislation. You run that piece of legislation, everybody votes for it, governor signs it, and it goes out there and the rubber meets the road, and you say, why didn't we think about that?
Oops.
Yeah, that's right.
We're going to have to go back and amend that next year. But in the meantime, you've got a whole year of people having to go through things that they shouldn't have to go through. So I think that you have to get in the room, and I call it a collaborative effort. I use this as an example, but right now you're seeing major changes in coverages on roof. Deductibles that 5 years ago, if I asked you what your deductible was, you would say $2,000. Mm-hmm. Well, today you'll say 2%. or 3%. But most people don't really know what that 2% or 3% represents until the claim happens.
Right.
Because 2% on a $400,000 house, even a $300,000 house, is 3 times what it was 5 years ago.
Yep.
And then if you add in depreciation, you can have a $6,000, $8,000, $10,000, $12,000 deductible. How many people do you know that would fall into the category of not being able to come up with that? Well, then it compounds itself.
Quite a few, right?
Then it compounds itself because you say, well, give me whatever amount that you're going to give me. And then the mortgage company says, we're not signing off on that till you do that.
Yeah.
Even if it's free of a mortgage. You take your money, you put it in the bank, or you go spend it, or whatever it is that you do with it. And then you get a letter from the company 90 days or 6 months later, and it says, did you replace the roof? No, I can't afford it. Well, why can't you afford it? Because my deductible is $12,000.
And then they won't cover it at all the next time.
No, the next letter you get is, we're canceling you effective at your, and used to, I could have went down the street. Somebody else would have picked me up. Not anymore. So we have coverage gaps and issues like that. I use that as this example. We're going to have, when those things happen, banks are going to have a say-so. If the banks are not interested in loaning money, then the real estate agent can't sell. If the real estate agent can't sell, then the title companies can't close. So we've got a lot of issues, and for us to truly find that, first of all, it's going to take experience. I'm the one that's got the most. But you're going to have that collaborative effort from all parties. So if I'm talking to companies about issues on drones, we have to go through a legitimate process that says, what's the positives, what's the negatives, what's it doing to the consumer, what's it doing for the company. And that's how that you work through those things. And then you don't find quick fixes that sooner or later raise its head and has a problem. Then you have long-term solutions because you took your time in trying to work through that.
Okay, so I'm not quite sure you answered my question.
That's possible.
At least the way I envisioned it,
Okay.
right? And that's the whole idea of limiting the flow of that information. Now, using it properly is one thing. You got a claim and you're processing it and drones gathering information. That's one thing. But the whole idea of them capitalizing on that, let's say selling it. You mentioned the idea of selling information to other parties. Okay. And maybe it's in some fine print in some contract where the consumer authorized that. But we all know the difficulties of that. Is there a place for the insurance commissioner to limit that flow of information?
Well, again, I think that we have to find that out. When those people sign a application that says, I want my homeowner's policy with you, and we'll narrow it down to the drone issue. If you're collecting data from us, who's in charge of that data? Do you sell it? I mean, we can ask those questions. And let's just say that we feel like that is too broad. Then do we go to that company and say, yeah, we're going to run a piece of legislation that in Oklahoma you can't share that data?
Something to that effect. That'd be great. And one of the reasons I bring that up is we're all concerned about AI and what AI can do. And we see all these data centers going up. The cost of gathering information and processing it is getting less and less expensive. So as a society, more can be gathered, and we're losing our privacies. So if there is something you can do in that area, it'd be great. Let me ask you another question. Then.
Okay.
It's interesting on the idea of cost because last year I got hit with a hailstorm. Right, I had to replace my roof, and my insurance premiums they hardly budged. Okay, and the price was reasonable for my deductible and all, and it wasn't these excessive numbers that we hear about. Okay, and frankly, when you consider my whole family interest, I had to replace 5 roofs last year, and it hardly had an impact on my budget. Was able to manage it. Okay, was able to manage it and all. And yet I hear about others that are having these horrific experiences, and I'm thinking, okay, the difference has to be in the insurance companies themselves. My insurance company does not advertise. I went through an independent agent and got a recommendation. Okay. Matter of fact, it was an agent you recommended to me without giving names.
Why
Others, We'll leave it alone for now. We'll leave that alone for now on our podcast. Let me ask you, how is it that the average person get out there and find the insurance companies that are actually being fair versus those that are exploiting? And because you see these social media posts, I don't know how much to trust them. How does the average
I mean,
person...
that's a thumbs up, thumbs down, 5 stars, 1 star, whatever. Is that what you're talking about?
One of these days we're going to have to catch up.
Okay.
Catch
All
up
right.
to speed
All
on
right.
that, Charlie. But how does the average person find a reasonable insurance company?
I don't think that it's any different, though, than buying a car or buying furniture or anything like that. How do I know when I walk into a particular place whether that person's reputable or not? I see on TV or I hear on radio that this is a really good company, and we, and you know as well as I know, those ads can be misleading.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it happens in all the industries that we just mentioned.
That's why I asked. So what's the secret sauce for finding a good guy?
One of the best is word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the best advertisement. It's the cheapest advertisement.
And we got this mouth that won't give us the word over here. And I don't remember who I recommended.
Well, don't tell it until we see if they want to sponsor our show.
What's interesting, it was actually your recommendation. It was word of mouth.
Okay.
And I've been very thankful.
Yeah.
So you know what it is too. Two people in here know and 2 don't.
Yeah.
Seems kind of unfair.
Yes, yeah, because I don't remember who I recommended to you. And so
would it be fair to say that one of your goals is to drive the costs down for the consumer as far as insurance and to drive results up?
Cost has to be looked at. But that's just one part of it. We've got Oklahoma is still considered one of the most litigious states in the union. And here's an example. When I came in 2010, so the first session had been 2011, I was told at that time that they had been working on workers' comp reform for 20 years. Mm-hmm. It took us 2 and here we got all these Republicans taking all the state offices. We've got a good majority in the House and the Senate. It still took us 2 years. I believe 2013 was the year that they made the change. Oklahoma's rates was almost 2.5 times that of Arkansas until we made those change.
Wow.
One of the companies that was a big writer at the time had about 8% of the market. They still have 8% of the market. But the premium difference back then was about $700 million was their annual premium that they collected on workers' comp. Today, that's a little over $200 million. So what happened to that money? That money went back to that employer. He put it back in his manufacturing business, or he gave raises, or he gave better benefits. That's where that money, all across Oklahoma. It's the same way on homeowners. It's the same way on auto. You can't have one of those 3 areas swinging the pendulum too far in their way, because the first check is always going to be written by that big old rich insurance company. But the last check is always going to be written by you. But when you see people talking about or advertising that you're getting paid these big settlements, those are not free. Everybody else besides that individual that got it. And some of them, just depending on who listens to this, some of those are things that should happen. They were lawsuits that should have went forward. But when you see 30 million and 100 million or 10 million or whatever, just remember that's not free money.
Yeah.
It just didn't come out of a company's account.
Sure.
So why is it important that those companies have billions of dollars set aside in reserves? Here's one example. 1992, Allstate has been in Florida for 42 years. Hurricane Andrew comes home through Homestead, Florida, and totally demolishes it. It was about a $5.3 billion payout in 1992. What did that represent? It represented every premium dollar that Allstate had ever collected.
Yeah.
Why is that important today? You better have billions more to where that when you go back and you read the day of the killer tornadoes, and it goes from state to state to state to state, I think 7 states. We have to be prepared for that.
Yeah.
But when you are talking about lawsuits and the frequency of lawsuits and severity of lawsuits, they're just in the moment. And so we've got to be able to protect that consumer with that legal system. Mm-hmm. It's important. But we can't swing the pendulum to where that it's just a constant deal, because rates will never, ever be affordable.
Yeah.
You know, and the key is the vast majority of the citizens don't understand that. And what we're doing right here is educational for people to understand that. Because, greed is a horrible thing. And we have a lot of greedy people that are willing to go to great lengths to enrich themselves, and it's really a problem. But we need to, as a society, wise up to these things and see that when that these things don't happen in a vacuum. When certain things happen, it costs all of us.
And just show you the balance on that, Charlie. Mm-hmm. It's in all three areas. Mm-hmm. That's why that we have to have an experienced person in the commissioner's office, because
you're going to have to be fair.
Corporations are not always greedy, consumers are not always greedy, and the attorneys are not always greedy.
Yeah,
that's why that balancing act is extremely important for us to move forward, find long-term solutions to making insurance more affordable.
Yeah. So one thing that we can do as consumers, I built 3 homes. And the one I'm in now is I have a metal roof on it. And I get about a $500 a year deduction for having a metal roof, as opposed because take a hailstorm, if it dents it a little bit, that's cosmetic to an insurance company.
Right.
They're not going to, unless it is a massive hail that goes through a roof or something like that. So their exposure is not as great, and they can give that discount. So we can have something to do with that too. I want to bounce something off of you here and just get you to comment on it. I don't know if it's something you can do or not. But a while back, I was getting calls weekly, sometimes 2 and 3 a day, that they represented a roofing company, and they were going to be in our neighborhood, and they wanted to come by and examine our roof for us. Well, I told them this is a fairly new home, and I have a new roof. Didn't matter; they wanted to do it, and I was getting so sick and tired of these, that I'll tell you how I dealt with it.
I'm all to come at 2:00.
No, I told them. I said,
I like the way you think.
I'll meet you up here at my gate at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, and you bring $500 cash, and you pay me up front the $500 cash, and I will let you examine my roof from my gate, and bring your binoculars.
They didn't call you back?
Yeah. Well, it eventually ended that, okay? It eventually stopped it. But it was the only way I could figure out how to get rid of that. Are those shysters there, more than likely?
There's, tell me what you really think, Charlie. And listen, it's not any different. I mean, my wife is an excellent accountant. She's a CPA, but not all CPAs are good. Not all insurance people are good. So are there people in that industry that are not doing things the way that they should? Yes, but there's a lot of them that are. And that's what we've got to get through. Is we're going to have some help from a municipal standpoint, maybe even a county standpoint. We've got situations some of the recent storms where people come out of their house, they hear noise outside, they come out of their house, and they've got people on the roof.
Really? Wow.
Without permission.
Pow, pow.
Without permission. So, that just has to stop.
What was that new 2A bill that passed about people being on your property?
Yeah. And I don't know. I won't go to the extent.
That is risky.
Yeah.
They got extremely mad when they were asked to leave. It took them forever to get them off the property, but That's some of the things that we're dealing with.
That seems so strange.
Well, I would never take the law in my own hands. I'd be calling my sheriff. That's what I'd be doing.
Not I am.
She doesn't want to wait that long.
She says, I don't need to practice at the range today.
That's
My
exactly
target
what I was
practice
going
came
to
to me.
say. Target practice. Someone's standing on my roof, but I don't know.
See how they can dance, huh?
Unless it's Santa Claus, so I don't want them up there. I had a question for you. So top 3 things that you would want to kind of tackle when you're elected.
When we started this back in probably March or maybe even February of last year, we started going out west because that's where my name ID was not as good as it is where we spent 30 years on the eastern side of the state. The number one thing was affordability. Mm-hmm. How are you going to get prices down? You got to change risk, you got to change exposure, you got to change cost. You got to look at those type things to reduce it. But the more that we were out, the more stops we made, the more businesses that we knocked. The second thing became consumer protection. These are the stories, and I alluded to that earlier, is that this is what's happening to me. I've got to have an avenue. So the number one thing is we've got to find affordability, ways of affordability. And in conjunction with that, you have to have accountability, affordability and accountability on companies. Mm-hmm. But the second thing is consumer protection. And that's what we found. It's always been important. If you've been in the sales business or you've been in business at all, how you take care of your people determines on how long that you're going to be successful in the business. But the last thing is that we have to have tort reform, plain and simple. It's not going to
more
come
of
easy.
It, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
We've had some. We need more of it.
We've got to have tort reform, and you've got people in the House of Representatives and other in the Senate that are dug in on against that because of special interest.
Can you explain tort reform? Some people won't.
Well, you got to change the statutes to where that it's not in the way that hopefully people, the average person can understand it. If you have the ability to sue more often, and if you have the ability to sue for greater severity, then prices are always going to go up. Now, if you're talking about auto insurance or homeowners insurance, but the rules that allow for those lawsuits and the amounts of those lawsuits, we have to review that to try to have an opportunity to control cost. Mm-hmm. And two, so that people will want to do business in this state. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's it. If they know that every time they turn around they're going to be sued on a roof claim, do you think they want to come to the state?
No.
So we've got to look at the frequency.
And they may leave the state. You may have some leave the state.
So, I mean, that's the reason for it. Mm-hmm. It's not, I don't have a vendetta. Again, I'm going to preach. I want you to do your job when it's time for you to do your job. Mm-hmm. But you cannot take advantage of companies. You can't take advantage of consumers and us ever act like we're going to have an affordable place to live when it comes to insurance and or property taxes.
So earlier I asked kind of a question of who might want to put money into a campaign for one of your opponents there, and we talked about the medical industry, but it looks to me like the legal industry might have a stake in this too. Would they be someone that might want to put money in the campaign of someone for a particular reason?
At the end of the day, Charlie, you're gonna look at anybody's. I will explain my ethics report with anybody. I've got $2 donations. I've got max donations. You want to look at the max donations? I'll tell you what my connection is, and we don't solicit donations from anything that we feel like has any negative concerns to that. Yeah. We're running a campaign on a very thin margin because at the end of the day, I can have the most money in the bank, but if I don't have the most votes, I don't win. Mm-hmm. So we've spent, Kelly and I, my wife, retired about 6 weeks ago, something like that. So she's been with us, and we cover. I don't think I told you this, but we went 8.5 hours just of driving time on Saturday. We drove almost 600 miles because we had everything from events that we were going to and signs to put out. So we went from one side of the state literally to Broken Bow, Oklahoma that night. And
Long haul.
And so why are we doing that? I want in front of people. I need just enough money, and that's why if you give me a $2 donation, it's just as important as anybody else because I know that person's going to vote for me. We need just enough to get our message to the consumers. That's not real easy these days. It's extremely expensive, but if you got a question on our ethics report about where the money came from, pick up the phone and call me.
Yeah.
Well, sir, let's give you an opportunity to discuss what are the distinctives between you and your opponents. You've been talking quite a bit and laying out quite a few details, but what is it that puts you head and shoulders above your other opponents?
Well, experience is the key. I mean, I tell people that I've got almost twice as much experience in the industry. But inside that industry, I've been on both sides of the table. I've actually been all around the table. I started out as an agent. I went to Kentucky as a manager. I came to Oklahoma as a thank you, Charlie.
Yeah.
I came to Oklahoma as a manager, went back into the agency force. But most importantly, inside the industry, I've been a consumer. I've paid those same premiums that you have. I've had those claims and sometimes the results of those claims, just like you have. So when I get ready to look at how we're going to change things as a commissioner, I'm going to go from the ground up. What's that going to do to the consumer? How's it going to hurt him? When the company develops a policy or a program or a process, the first people that are going to know whether there's positive effects or negative effects to that is the agent and the consumer. So why would I want to start up there making my rules and regulations when I know that my issue is this? I go talk to the foundation, and that's the consumer and the agency force, and then you work your way up.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, how do people?
And he's
reach
had
out?
legislative experience.
That's what I was.
Actually, I put down here
12 years, and then the
Yeah.
chairman of the insurance committee.
Yeah.
agent, manager to legislator.
That's just the industry part of it. But because of all the involvement that we had in the industry and our community involvement, people trusted us. I had a proven record before I ever went to the legislature, and you hear people saying, "Well, we don't need another politician," but they're trying to break their neck to be one. How much sense does that make? But I tell people I got 40-something years of experience outside the legislative body. The legislative body, if we're going to change the authority of the commissioner, if we're going to change how companies do in the state, you're going to change statutes. You're going to change those rules and regulations. Where does that start? The commissioner right now, as high as rates are, he does not have the authority to stop an insurance company from raising rates too much.
Right.
Yeah.
So if we're going to change that, who's the best to do that? That guy that's been in those committees, those guys that have chaired the committee, those guys that have built up, pieces of legislation, that have worked through huge bills like workers' comp.
Sure.
And so we've done that. Now they don't like that I've got that experience, and they don't, so that's why they downplay it. But just like this session, there's multiple bills. There's one real good bill. I'm anxious to find out who killed it. But you had companies that, when they mess up on a particular sector, the fine was $1,000. So guess what those companies were doing? You just pay that $1,000.
Yeah.
Pay that $1,000. Just keep on doing business the way they want to.
Yeah.
So
The fine
that
is
bill,
too small.
House Bill 2933, would allow those fines to go higher. What's that fine for? That fine is not to just collect revenue. That fine is to be a deterrent, for them to do business the way that you want to do business.
Because
Yeah,
$1,000
change
is cheaper
yeah,
than.
exactly.
So how do people reach your campaign?
My personal cell phone is on my card, and that's 918-760-7059. And you can call me morning, noon, or night.
Say that slowly.
918-760-7059.
Do you have a website?
I do. I have a website, martyquinn4ok.com, and that's FOR. martyquinn4ok.com.
Okay, my peers over here, the ANC have guilted me into it. Just so you know, I find the secret sauce for me anyway on the idea of insurance, and that I've been rather happy with, is through an independent agent named Daniel Lee out of Edmond, and he's been fantastic for me, and that's the one Charlie recommended.
Daniel Lee.
Hmm.
Now, when you say independent agent, what company is he with?
Multiple.
Yeah, multiple, because he's actually moved me around from one company to another because of better policy at a lower price.
Okay.
One company, the rates would double in a year, something to that effect, and so he would move. And you might say that's the advantage of an independent agent.
Do you remember now, Charlie?
Yeah. And
Charlie's got a memory like an elephant.
what you don't know is he is a wild-eyed left-wing liberal.
But that's fine.
But he does good for what you. And I'll tell you why I did, because like I say, building homes, I was needing, what do they call it when you're under
Construction loan.
builder's risk? Yeah. And he was by far the cheapest that I could come across.
Sue's job is to reflect Jesus in his life.
Yeah. So he's a son
Can
of.
liberals be saved? Is that what we're now saying?
He's a relative of someone that I worked for.
Oh.
I like I say, the last two homes I've built, I've had a man named James Howell. He owns a business called Building Planners. It is, he's at all the home and garden shows. And I work for him because I've gotten plans from him twice. He's also a general contractor. And so I work for him as a satisfied customer at all these home and garden shows. There are 4 a year. And he is related to the man I work for. So,
Well, Daniel Lee has done me well because I suppose you're right, Senator. The whole idea of whenever we go to buy a car, we're going to buy anything. Go to the grocery store, and you got several products there, right? Several varieties of cereal. Which one do you buy? It is a buyer beware market, and you do have to think these things through and invest the energy and time to figure out the best avenue. You're the best solution. That's where we're at.
I get asked all the time. I mean, I tell them, I said, every community has good insurance agents. So if you're going to church, find out who your friends at church have. You have friends at work, find out who they use. And then pick up the phone and start calling, start asking questions. Who treats you the best over the phone? Who acts like that they have time for you over the phone? And then, with your friends, you find out how they treat you when you had a claim. So there's a little bit of research that has to go into it, but word of mouth, as you've already proven, Charlie gave you a referral and
That's
turned out
exactly
good.
right. And it's worked out well.
well, I realized some years ago that I have a gift from the Lord, and that's putting people together. And I've had this fairly decent memory in the past, and I've taken interest in people. I get to know them, what they do, and things like that. And that all goes in these banks. And then I these memory banks, and I come across someone that maybe has a similar interest or something. And I say, you ought to meet so-and-so or something to that nature. And I didn't realize it until 4 or 5 years ago that I really had a gift from the Lord in putting people together. You can't imagine how many people that I've put together over the years.
So you're a marriage counselor as well?
No, I have been.
Cupid.
I have been. I'm not much of a. I am an ordained minister, and I have done a great deal of marriage counseling in the past, and I guess I can speak with some authority now in the fact that come 9/11 of this year, my wife and I will have been married 55 years.
Wow.
So.
You got
That's
married
great.
on 911, Charlie?
Yes, ma'am. So
How does that not surprise you?
it's, well, it was before 9/11 happened.
But
I was trying to do the
911
math.
Oh yes,
has
right.
always
Yeah.
been, right?
But that was the day. My birthday is 9/10. So I married my wife the
So
day
you
after
could
my birth, so
remember?
I'd never forget our anniversary.
That's funny.
I think we're about ready to close, but
Yeah.
before we do, there is one comment or a little bit of advice I'd like to give our audience, and that is, if you're a roofer, don't get on Aya's roof without her permission.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Because remember what she said.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did I
Bang
repeat
bang.
it?
No.
Pow, pow.
Pow, pow.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
Take care, all.
Marty, thank you.
Thank
for
you
Yes.
being
very
here
much.
with us. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate your visit, sir.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you all.
All righty.